Привет из Сингапура. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about ergonomics and let's start with the definition.
Ergonomics, this is a science or scientific discipline which provide us with knowledge how to make tools not just useful for the person or for worker, but also how to make them anatomic shaped. For example, you use an axe and you cut the wood, and suddenly you will have how to say mozolь,
Blister.
and suddenly you will have a blister and you don't like it. You couldn't continue your work and maybe you couldn't finish your job. So you will looking for an eggs which is ergonomically made. When I was in Canada for the very first time, I was working for IT company which produces video cards. It was very famous like 20 years ago. Now it is less known. Maybe it was because of Nvidia has more success on the market. But I suddenly was in the shop, in the department store, and I found an eggs. It was made like a toy. It was not just wooden, but it was painted with special kind of color, and it was yellow handle, and also this the metallic part was red one. And when I take it in my hand, I wouldn't let it go. So it was shaped especially for me.
And actually, there is another type of skill called the user experience, and I do believe they might be have some sort of like a dependencies or even the something that lies in the between. So, what is the difference with between those two skills?
This is a very good question, and no one before were asking this, even in Russian language. But I have conducted more than 5,600 podcasts, so you are the very first, and thank you for this question. When we talk about ergonomics, we talk how to make some kind of control for person that it is nice to have. It is complementary. It is not just useful, but it is приятно на ощупь. Pleasant to touch.
It's nice touching. Yeah.
Nice touching. Yes. When we are talking about user experience or some other stuff with electronic forms on our monitor and some buttons on the screen, this is how to make person to feel comfortable with it. But it is not about ergonomics. Ergonomics, it is about real world. We have muscles, we have bones, we have joints. By the way, we have forgot, you remember we have forgot the word суставы. It is joint. Now we will know. But when we talk about user experience, this how to make everything very predictable, that person will understand what will happen when he or she will push the button or switch the web page.
Really right. Maybe like even there is a little experience and the example that I also have. So here in Singapore, they do celebrate Chinese New Year. So usually they would give you the envelope and it's called ang bao. So they also distinguish different types of the envelopes, and the most rich one has like a golden coverage and very nice to touch. So you feel like you're touching the velvet. So this is how they also want to communicate the importance of the gift through the feelings or tactile sensations that you have, so that okay, this is something that they care about. So my next question will be, what are fundamentals of the ergonomics?
There was a time when I was working in Germany for the best consulting firm in the world, and suddenly I was given business cards, and they were for me just usual. But my bosses were angry. You do not see some very special. It is a special kind of paper. I was looking for this, and I was doubting what they're talking about. And suddenly one of my bosses unpacked this business cards and put it on the white paper. And suddenly I realized that it is more white than a white paper. And the main reason was it is easy to find. No one will lose it on the table. And I was thinking, wow, it is great. For example, there are examples just opposite. For example, this can opener. I don't know how to say. Открывачка для консервов. Can opener, yes?
It's can opener.
Can opener. It is usually made from wood, but very first one of them were made red painted. But what's the problem? If you have red painted, you will never lose it. You will never put it or throw to the garbage bin accidentally, случайно.
Accidentally.
Accidentally, yes, correct, thank you. So it was made like a wooden, and everyone was thinking, oh, okay, it's natural wood, it's nice touching. But another reason is to make you throw it away, to have a need to buy a new one. And the last level we are talking in our video right now, that it should be very useful for you. For example, there are several bottle or wine producing companies which made not just bottles, but bottles with special, I don't know how to say, holes. And when you take the bottle, all your fingers will go a bit deep in the glass, and you couldn't follow it. Or for example, I'm using such kind of glass, and who knows, I never like it. It was presented by my colleague, but suddenly I found that this form is really useful, because it will not fall down, even it is full and heavy.
Somehow it also reminds me of different types of the pillows that actually can remember the specific shape of the head, so that the experiences also could be nice. So obviously there are also might be different levels of how the one can solve the problem for another human. So let's talk about it in the details, like what are the steps or what are the different areas by increasing complexity and maybe even scalability the one can have in order to address the problems that humanity may have.
About a century ago, no one was thinking about workers, and they were working very hard, and they were having some troubles like pain in the back or maybe some blisters on the hands. But suddenly there are several scientists like Edward Deming for very first sign. He developed several principles how to make job for people easier, to not twist the body, to do not hold the heavy things, to don't walk too far away from the stanok. How to say stanok?
Machine.
From the machine, and so on. And Edward Deming was inventing special kind of video camera which was capturing, if I'm not mistaken, 200 frames per second. And then he and his subordinates were looking very attentively what is going with the person. And they were, for example, invented not just direct table for the machine, but a bit shaped to be inside of it. So it was not like a rectangle, but it was shaped like a curve. It is what not easy to produce, but it is increase the performance of the person.
And somehow I remember there are some sort of like a memes when they build something on a courtyard for the kids. It's like a sliding, but it goes directly to the drainage. So it's like funny that, you know, like kids might be sliding away to the underground. So obviously there are also might be things that, you know, when people build, there was an intention to solve the problem, but apparently there is a certain mistake they made in terms of, you know, like how they constructed certain items or how they what the approach they use. So let's actually have a look at the top 3 mistakes people make when they're trying to deal with the ergonomics.
First mistake, it's about color. Sometimes you will see a very wrong colors. For example, it could be like something white on the gray, and you couldn't read it. Second, when you see for blind people, there are some kind of braille font which is could be used could be filled just by the fingers, but sometimes it is not made on the metallic or plastic, but it is just printed, so it is completely plain. So no one could feel it. And another way, when, for example, you will see something made for children, but it is heavy. It was a very funny story. I don't know exactly when where I was. Maybe it was Poland, maybe it was Czech Republic, but I was in the museum, which was scaled like usually men or women would be 3 years old. And I was trying to climb to the chair, which was higher, like 5 meters. And then I was taking spoon, which was long, like, I don't know, maybe 2 meters. And suddenly I realized that it is not easy for young boys and women, boys and girls to, for example, eat from their plates. And after I was taking the same subjects, but made not from metallic, but from plastic. And it was much easier. So I was trying to eat with a big spoon, and I realized how it is. And also, I have never experienced it, but I have seen the TV report when it was like a school for husbands, how to feel like a pregnant woman. They were wearing special, I don't know how to say, something on the head. When someone cooking, it is like a fartuch.
Apron.
Like an apron, but it is maybe was with some kind of balloon, and they were filled with the water, with amount like 9 liters of water. And these men were obliged to feel to sit, to lay, to make some small kind of jobs for the kitchen for 5 hours. And after these 5 hours, all of these men were telling the same. I was never thinking how it is hard to be pregnant.
I guess ergonomics is also like when you're comparing things before and after, or trying the option A and comparing with option B and C, D, which also reminds me of one of the case that, for example, Starbucks have. So it's some of the outlets, instead of having the rectangular or square shaped tables, they do prefer to have the rounded one so that everyone would feel like equal. Everyone feels like hugging the table instead of being the opposite. So I guess it's another type of the ergonomics. Now we were talking about inventors who actually came up with all of these ideas or the solution for the real world problem. So what kind of people they are, what kind of skills and the experience they need to possess in order to do their job efficiently?
To be honest, no one knows these inventors because they are always unknown. They are not a famous one. But I was working with different guys in different plants and fabrics. And for example, when I was working on the truck assembling factory, I was looking for guys who was working with special kind of tools to be used for metal processing, and they suddenly were using a very strange form. So it was not symmetric, but it was reduced from one side, especially to be captured by the hands. And second, I was working with the guys who were assembling furniture, and it was like not wooden but fanera. How to say fanera?
Thin wood.
Thin wood, and also they were cutting the edges to make them not sharp. And the same experience I was have when I was working on the conservation plant or cannery factory, and they were making some metallic cans to contain some kind of black porridge with chicken and so on. And they also were made not just as glass was melted, but also it was after pre-processed with special kind of tools to make this glass not such gladky, slippery,
Smooth.
smooth. Yes, correct. Thank you.
So when it also comes to the things that we may foresee in the future, and given that there is a development of the technology, and maybe I could be more specific, like, for example, the access to 3D printing is actually became more massive. And again, like there are a couple of examples that I foresee. For example, there is one person who invented this little thing that would hold your strap of your bag when you're carrying like something a lot. So it will be a little clip, meaning that if they want to redesign things that they see not really practical or not really working efficiently in the world, they can do it. So what is the foreseeable future of the economic giving this and maybe even some other aspects?
You know, it was a funny story. Maybe it was like 12 or 15 years ago. Suddenly, I have a knowledge from my father. He was asking me what is the theme of my scientific work. I was writing dissertation. Is there such a word, dissertation, in the English? Or
Yes, it's
scientific research?
dissertation.
Okay, it's dissertation. And he suddenly told me that there are some prohibited terms in plane construction, because all of the calculations were made like 90 years ago, and we just like a humankind wait for materials which could be applicable to these forms. So there are no need to make calculations. And I was wondering, wow, it's so cool. Second, I was reading one book, and there were about aerodynamics, and it was written there that the best кузов машины, в котором что-то возят, the load part of the truck.
Trunk.
The best trunk for the carry, it should be like a banana shaped, but it is very hard to produce because it is easy to make something like a bar or something like round, but this is more sophisticated. So I think that we will go very far from symmetric forms. For example, right now we have like a mouse. It is quite symmetric and could be used by left hand and right hand person, and the same with a pen or some other stuff. But if we will go to special shop to buy, for example, very expensive gadgets, you will find that right-handed and left-handed are quite different. And if you use this kind, it will not fit for another hand. For example, very expensive trackballs, they just could be applicable to left or right-handed people. So I think that we will go on the symmetric verify way.
Right. And the last question will be how knowing about ergonomics would help to make this world a better place.
You know, I'm very fascinated about ergonomics. I was in Thailand. It was a hotel called like Banyan Tree. If I remember right, it was Phuket Island. And we were put with my wife with special kind of villa for just married. They were a really good one. And suddenly there were two occasions which I like a lot of. First, we were asked to be barefoot, and our foot were submerged in some kind of liquid, and suddenly we realized that it was a way to produce slippers for us, but it was not just bought in the shop. It was made from our foots. Another trick was the same, was with some kind of, I don't know how to say it, balloons. It was like aerosol, and they put this aerosol on our bodies, and they cut it with scissors, and suddenly we have specially shaped for us t-shirts. And I was thinking, wow, it's so cool. So for example, every person could have different hands, and you could produce the exact gloves, or the same with socks or slippers or t-shirts or shorts.
Эргономика позволяет нам делать лучшие вещи, чтобы лучше взаимодействовать с этим миром. Мы рассмотрели навык эргономика и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира.